Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Fayetteville Public Library. My name is Rachel Bright, and I am a librarian in our Adult Services Department. I want to thank you for coming today, and thank you to everyone watching our live stream. Tonight, we are happy to welcome Tenny Rain to the Fayetteville Library. Tenny is a folk country singer-songwriter with a vintage vocal edge and finds inspiration in the stories and emotions of our everyday lives. Tonight, Tenny will share stories through song, reflecting on the past to learn and move forward, and to delve a little deeper with an interactive portion of the program focusing on breath and voice exercises. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Tenny Rain. Woo!
Woohoo! Well, thanks for coming. I am very excited to be here. This is a little bit of a different type of program for me in terms of the performance world as a musician, but is a very exciting moment to get to bring together a couple of different sides of the work I do, both as a musician and then also as a yoga teacher and mindfulness instructor in behavioral healthcare worlds. And one of the things that we focus on in those moments and in that space when we're thinking about the breath, which can be very overwhelming, what I've noticed when we think about breath work and we go into spaces where we can benefit from it, but it can also be or feel really inaccessible if it's not something that we're familiar with. And so we start to ask of people, okay, we're gonna do this type of breath, and we're gonna inhale for 4 counts, and then we're gonna pause for 4 counts, and then we're gonna exhale for 4 counts, and we're gonna pause for 4 counts. And people start to get extremely anxious because there's this feeling of needing to tense and to control. And that's exactly the mind space and mind frame that we're trying to move out of instead of into. And so it's been very interesting to start to pair that yoga-based knowledge, breath knowledge, and the kind of experiential knowledge of being a singer with breath exercises in a way that breaks down some barriers and allows some playfulness to creep in. So while we are a small group, I hope that we can enjoy and let go of seriousness for a moment while we move into some of the exercises. But before we do that, just kind of taking a moment to think about the voice, not something that we might consider in our everyday lives. We've heard the saying, of course, think before you speak. But typically, when we think of that phrase, we're considering what is the content? What are the words that are coming out of my mouth? And not necessarily what is supporting the words that are coming out of my mouth. What is the space, the resonant structure, the opportunity to project and to say something of meaning? How do I support that from a muscular space, but also from kind of the emotional and mental space as well? Singing is a pretty incredible skill set that we have as humans because it comes from and is part of speaking, which, while there are many, many, many creatures in the world that communicate incredibly effectively through sounds, we are still, as of now, the only of the creatures on this planet that use sentences and words and structure and conjugate verbs and do all of this crazy stuff that comes with being language speakers. Unfortunately, being language speakers not only developed into being singers, but is an incredibly important part of our history as humans. Before we wrote language down, before we were able to capture our histories, our stories of where we come from and who we are and what we've done with our lives, we sung about them. And when we think of those old times where people would share histories of people that they were part of, it was through bards. It was through these incredible, long poem form songs that were added to every time something happened that was noteworthy, that needed to be brought into the future.
So singing, while we can feel a big disconnect from it today as humans, because when we think about it, we might think, oh, well, singing is for the professionals, right? Singing is for the Taylor Swifts and the Billie Eilishes, the Jason Mrazes, people who are singers. That often helps us, or it doesn't really help us, but it creates this feeling of, I am not a singer. And as humans, though, we may have those among us or friends that we know who are tonally challenged in some way. That's real. That's a very real thing. We are all capable of singing. And if we find our own key, I think we can all sound really wonderful singing, together or separate. Over decades and centuries, and being a huge part of where we come from and how we have shared stories, it's then no surprise that today we have artists of all genres that, whether they are mega millionaires or folk equals broke, there are artists all across the world who still share important, moving, and connecting stories through song. But in order to do that, we have to find a connection to our voices. When we were little, we usually had a much stronger connection to voice. And it came really naturally. If any of you have ever been around an infant, you've heard that. We focus so much as adults on wanting to know what someone's first word was, when they said it, and what it meant. To us, really, more than to them, usually. But if we think about how we start to interact with sound as infants, as humans in the world, it sounds a lot like that, right? It's this explorative, playful, expressive, ba, 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 ah! And it means everything to us as an infant, but nothing to the adults around us, except that, oh, maybe that's quite cute. And so we think of first words, and we care about first words, but really, when we come into the world, it's a first song. It's a melody. It's an exploration of trying to find and match that which we hear around us, the adults around us speaking, and this interest and this intrigue of, can I do that? Can I make those noises? And so we try, and we aren't ashamed, we aren't embarrassed, we just let it fly. Blah, 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 blah. Ah! It's quite fun. And then we get older and we start to sing songs about making mud pies as we go. I'm adding dirt, now there's water and some onions and I'll stir it up. And it's not weird. It's normal, it's natural, and it's just what's happening. But as we get older, we start to learn to be quiet. We start to learn that if we sing a song about what we're doing, that people will look at us weird. Or maybe they'll tell us to be quiet. Or if you remember from your middle school days, you might be singing a song in the hallway and somebody will ask you, who sings that song? And you'll answer, and they'll respond with a very scathing, well, let's keep it that way. So we learn over time to be quiet, to silence our voices, to let them be small. And over time, that can sometimes make it very difficult to be able to speak up when it's time, to find our voice in moments where we have something very important to say. And we can often feel in our bodies when something is very important to say, even if we've struggled to bring it out. And so, as we move into this opportunity to play, to make incredibly silly noises that truly mean nothing except that we're finding and feeling where the voice exists in the body, I hope that we can all enjoy and leave with this little seed, this little reminder that in a moment where there's something very challenging to say, a hard question to ask, a boundary to set, a need that we have to ask for help with, we can come back to the idea that I know where my voice lives. I have felt it in my body. Singing is an incredible skill to have. And skill not meaning, oh, I can hit middle C or high C, or I can hit C2, but a skill to share and to enjoy and create fun with. Over many, many decades, as we have gotten into the space of we must quantify all, there's been several studies that have shown singing to be a very powerful and therapeutic modality to help reduce cortisol levels in our bodies, to boost our dopamine output and increase endorphins. So we don't necessarily always think of singing as an exercise, but whenever we are interacting very specifically and intentionally with muscle groups, we get that kind of dopamine endorphin situation, just as if we had gone for a run. So we can tap into that a bit here. It also helps promote serotonin release, so original happy hormone. Hopefully today, even though we're not going to be singing any arias or choral arrangements, we'll also have the opportunity to tap into what studies have shown is an amazing piece of singing together, which is this opportunity to create connection, to feel as if we are making something not just of our own, but as a group. So we'll end with a little fun back and forth singing exercise, which is why I did ask a small number of you to sit on the other side of the aisle. But because of these physiological responses in the body, we can absolutely use singing as a strategy to help reduce stress, to improve our mental health, to help us cope with physical and emotional distress, enhance our memory retention, and cultivate a sense of connection and belonging. This doesn't mean that we all have to start attending open mics and singing in front of people in anxiety-inducing situations. But maybe we can start to give ourselves the chance, the opportunity in the car, in the shower, while playing with a pet, while interacting with siblings or children, to sing a silly song and to let that be okay. To let silliness and playfulness be an important part of fun. Fun being connection, flow, and the ability to not take ourselves too seriously. It's something that I struggle with every day. I think a lot of us do as adults, but hopefully we'll be able to shake some of that off in this moment. So if you don't mind and are interested in joining in, I would love if you would stand and find, we have lots of space. You can move chairs out of the way. Just find some space where you can move. And you can always come back to your seat if you get tired on your feet, your back starts to hurt, all of these very real adult things. And you can do a lot of this from your chair as well. So there's no need to stand, but it can be a little bit more fun and a little bit more goofy. So before we do anything else, I am going to just transition over to this other microphone so that I have some space as well, and I don't have the lectern in front of me. But the first thing we're going to do is a little bit of just physical stress release. So let's find our, I'm going to mirror. So our left hand, and let's just give it a shake above our head, nice and gentle, just to feel all of those fingers, that whole arm. There it is. We have a right arm. Isn't that interesting? And then let's go to the right side. Give that a shake. And we're going to repeat that with the legs. So give that left leg a little wiggle, all the way down to the toes. And then the right side. And then both arms. And both legs. Just kidding. Yeah, maybe we do a little hoedown action. So just the opportunity to release a little bit more. We're going to do a gentle little spinal twist. So we call this either beating the drum or knocking on heaven's door. So take your feet out a little wide. And then just let the upper body sway. Arms making a little circle around the body. You might feel a few little nice cracks and pops in the upper and mid-spine. Letting the weight shift from side to side so that we can feel how the body's moving. And then settling back in, finding the feet, feeling the feet. And while we think about singing with the breath today, Also thinking about singing from the body. So I always like to think about when, especially in a moment where we might feel a little bit disconnected, okay, say it from your toes. Say it from your toes. And that feels quite silly, but when we find the feet, when we ground and connect into the feet, and we have that kind of somatic anchor, that can be that first step, and just letting some of that ease creep back into the body. The breath. The breath cannot be divorced from singing. It cannot be divorced from speaking. Again, we get told a lot, think before you speak, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we think about the structure of speaking. So it might be an interesting surprise that will feel very obvious, but it may not be something you've ever thought about before this moment, that in order to speak, we must first inhale, because all speaking and all singing happens on an exhale. So let's take a nice big inhale and a big exhale, and just start to feel that movement in the body. So the breath, we often focus on the lungs, and the lungs are incredible. But without the musculature around them, they are simply weird air balloons that can't do anything on their own. So as you breathe, just taking a few deep breaths on your own cadence, starting to feel a little bit of that musculature expansion, making space as the lungs expand and press the diaphragm down. And as the lungs empty and the diaphragm moves up, this little gentle drawing in. So thinking, yes, about the belly and that expansion, but also seeing if we can find space in the side ribs and in the low back. So thinking about that, we don't have to stress the breath. We can always let it just kind of come back to whatever feels natural and normal. And we're going to start with a long, sustained exhale. And it is totally normal if you begin to feel sleepy and tired. As we focus on exhales, we trigger what is called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest side of the house. And so it's the end of the workday. We've probably all been running around quite a bit. And this might be the first time that we really take time to exhale fully. So we might start to feel a little bit sleepy. And that's okay. We'll combat that a little bit with some more energizing things in a moment. But the first thing we're going to do is just a long, sustained exhale, and we're going to pretend like we have a coffee stir straw in our mouth. So one of those like tiny black straws that you might find at Starbucks. We're going to take a big inhale at our own cadence, and then as if we're blowing out through that straw, creating a little bit of resistance and tension, just so as we get to the end of the breath, we might start to feel some engagement, some pressure in that core, pressing that air out, engaging to support the breath. Let's do that one more time, just with that exhale, no sound needed. Let the shoulders soften, let the eyes soften. And then notice, how does it feel to simply exhale? All right, this is playful and silly, so let's shake the arms out again. And maybe take a little bit of a twist. Just let the body have whatever it's asking for, any little movements, any stretches that feel nice. And we're going to add our first sound. So the same breath, that long extended exhale through that tiny aperture, but we're going to add a sibilant shh sound. So pretending that maybe you are a pinhole leak in a balloon, seeing if you can create that sound in the mouth space. So it's really a horrible sound, really. Very good. You all sound like leaky balloons. Congratulations. And then let's add to that shh on the next one. So the SH. So perhaps in the body we start to feel, yes, the musculature, but a little bit of warmth, a little bit of awareness of sound creation through the chest, supporting that sound. From there, we'll start to connect really intentionally with the diaphragm. So you might be feeling like a little bit lethargic and sleepy, we're going to see if we can brighten that up just the littlest bit. So still focusing on the exhale, but one of the really interesting things about breath work and vocal exercises as well is that we don't have to get into sleepiness always to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. There can be a lot of calm energy and excitement even while still feeling relaxed and out of tension. And so we're going to see if we can find that. The first thing we're going to do, again, continuing our silly train, is pant like a dog. Stick your tongue out and just go. And we'll feel a little bit of a contraction, right? This drawing in, kind of pressing air out, and then a really passive recoil on the inhale. So don't overdo it. We don't need to pass out by any means. Hello, welcome. Please join us. We are just panting like dogs, so you've come just in time. We've just started doing a few little vocal exercises to help us kind of feel where the breath and the voice meet in the body. So you'll have a chance to, you missed the first part, but this is full freedom to be incredibly silly. That's the whole goal. Whole goal is just to try it out. So let's do that again. Just pant like a dog. Find that diaphragmatic space. Yeah. And then the sound that we're going to add to that is laughter. So just ha, ha, ha. Ha, 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 ha. Maybe we even do like an evil cackle. So feeling all of that support, all of that space. Yes, give it one more, your best evil laugh. Very good. And already, right, we start to feel like, oh, we have this exhale, we're pressing air out, but there's a smile, there's a softness that happens. And what's fun about that exercise is that as we add that laughter sound, we're actually physiologically cueing what it feels like to laugh in the body. So if we've ever had that moment where we've said, oh my gosh, I laughed so hard that my abs hurt, that's those muscles, that's that engagement with the breath, those same spaces that we've tapped into with that very silly ha, ha, ha. Okay, so starting to explore up and down a little bit. So ha, just ha. There you are, that's your mid-tone. You sound wonderful. From there, we're going to see, and I'm a big targeter. I'm a very tactile person, so you can move your hands with me or let them stay at their sides, but just ha. So that's right here, that's at the center. And then we're gonna go ho. As low as you can go, ho. And then, hey. Yes, lovely. Let's do that again. Ha. Ho. Hey. And so we start to feel that the voice, while we are concentrating when we make sound with the body on the vibration of the vocal cords, all of these different spaces can help support different tones, different ways that we communicate, different moments of the voice that we access. So let's do that again, and this time we'll do 3 on each. So it'll be ha, 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 ho, 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 hey, hey, hey. That lower space, that higher space, and our nice middle tone as our starter. So again, all of this on an exhale. So take a nice big breath, and then begin. Ha, 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 ho, ho, ho. Hey, hey, hey. Yes, lovely. You might even start to notice as we move into those higher tones that, hey, 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 that you lift your eyebrows, that the face gets brighter, that it's really hard to make that sound without an opening in the eyes, in the jaw, and in the lips. So a little bit of an accidental smile might start to creep in, which I think is quite fun. So from there, again, just to kind of shake it out, we're going to, of course, as always, anytime you need to just move, stretch, and wiggle, that is encouraged. But to help us, again, just kind of release a little bit of tension, and also to get a little bit more up into that register here, we're going to do what we call in the vocal world an expressive sigh, which sounds a little bit like the most exasperated Disney princess you've ever witnessed. And you can let the body participate in this. I find that the arms really want to do this. So it's just a nice big inhale, and then it sounds something like this. So as loud as you're comfortable with, and you can start really quietly. Yes, perfect. Nice big inhale. good. Doesn't that feel nice? So when we think about the shape of it, it's almost like a roller coaster, right? We kind of go up, and then it falls back down and out. So let's try that one more time. Big inhale. Yes, there's this little lilting at the end almost. Perfect. So an expressive sigh, something that we can do even without the sound, right? All of these ways of interacting with the breath, with the voice, are also ways that we are absolutely interacting with and engaging our nervous system. So either the sympathetic or the parasympathetic. Most of the time with vocal exercises, the parasympathetic nervous system, when we're in a space where we feel safe. That might not be true in a voice lesson or on a stage, but when we just have the opportunity to express and to let go vocally of something, that can be really lovely for the entire physiology, wow, that was hard to say, of the body. All right. Yes. So from here, we're going to start with what I endearingly call horse breath. So if you've ever seen, again, a horse that is a little bit exasperated, this is kind of their expressive sigh, and it's kind of something like, yeah, so really shake the head, kind of let the shoulders wiggle. And it can be tricky to find that lip shape because it's not something that we do all the time, but just kind of explore, see what we can find. That's okay. And from there, so that horse's breath, kind of, we might start to feel a little bit of fuzziness across the lips, maybe even up into the nose and into the cheekbones. So that vibration of tone, that we start to feel the resonant structure of the face. So again, the body and the breath supporting all of this really interesting structure of the voice, but then thinking about the sinus cavities up into the forehead. There's all this beautiful resonant space in our heads as well. And so we're going to see if we can explore that, moving from that horse's breath into what we call vocal trills or vocal bubbles, which sounds a lot like driving a race car. Sometimes it even helps to pretend you're driving a race car. Fantastic. So without even thinking about it, going up and down in that kind of vocal registration area, you've started to connect that ho, 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 and that hey, 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 right? So that whole space, instead of hitting those discretely, there's this moment of that's happening, which is this beautiful kind of crossover of where the voice all exists. So let's drive that race car for another moment, always taking that nice big inhale to help support the voice as it comes out. Fantastic. It's so much fun. I can tell who watches NASCAR and are left turners. It's very good. It's a very tricky mouth shape. So you can also, if it's hard to find, you can take the fingers and kind of support the upper lip, which is extremely silly looking, and then go. So it narrows the lips a little bit, because it's quite hard to do when you're smiling, right? You can't smile and do this. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Okay. Y'all are doing so wonderfully. And so I'm going to throw something very vulnerable at you. Does anyone know what lion's breath is besides my mom? Okay. Oh, you'll remember quickly. Yes, I love that. So I personally like to call it dragon's breath because it feels a lot more like a dragon spitting fire than a lion roaring. But it is a very, very, very facially expressive breath. And what I mean by that is we're all going to try to pretend like we're in the band Kiss. So we're going to stick our tongue out as far as we can, open our mouth really wide, open our eyes, and look up at the ceiling like we're making the crazy rocker face. And we're going to do that all on an exhale with a very expressive kind of sound in the back of the throat. So it's going to look like this. And again, just as with the sigh, the body might want to participate. The body is part of this. So let the arms move, maybe even jump, whatever feels good. Don't punch a chair. That sounds painful. But it's going to look something like this. Very attractive. So try that a couple times. Just fantastic. So lion's breath, again, a way of releasing tension in the body, making any sort of little vocalization sound. And that one's great because it's a little bit quieter. So that's something that, if you're really frustrated with somebody at work, you can find a bathroom stall pretty easily. And then you feel a little bit better immediately. Like in those moments where you're like, I really want to scream, instead, we can just do a few lion's breaths. And that can sometimes be a nice little release, and maybe pair it with a little shake of the hands. So lion's breath. Another awesome opportunity to feel how the voice, the space, all of these resonant structures kind of interact. How's everybody doing? Good. Very good. So we have one more little vocal breath exercise that we're going to do. And this will take us into a little bit of a pause, and then we'll get the music side set up and move into more of the concert-based moment. But this is bee breath. And bee breath is one of the most cozy, lovely breaths out there, in my opinion. This is opinion, not fact, in that case. But bee breath is this really fantastic opportunity to specifically create a vibrational tone through the front of the face, into the bridge of the nose, and down into the sternum. So the sternum is the front space of where the vagus nerve has its headquarters. So if you're not familiar with the vagus nerve, it's a very important part of our nervous system, and it is connected out to everywhere, and is really key in that parasympathetic response, so getting into rest and digest. So again, very tactile person I am, so I love to take my hands and to just rest them right over the sternum as we do this. And bee breath is this little humming sound that we make with a closed mouth, and we can even close our eyes, create a little softness around that eye socket down into the jaw, take a nice big inhale, and then this little hum, just We'll all end at different times. Let the breath kind of refill and settle. Then as you're ready, starting again. Letting the shoulders soften, letting the eyes release. What can be so wonderful about doing that in a group is that it just kind of creates this really beautiful sound. Because we all have a different tone. We're coming from a different space. And that can be quite cozy. So how did that feel? How's everybody doing after bee breath? It's a great, very nice. Little Zen fingers back there. Lovely. So we've found a little bit of the space of the voice. Those are simple exercises that many public speakers and singers will use to get ready on stage, but they also have an incredible aspect of just being able to reconnect and ground, to feel somatically in the body where the voice lives, so that again, in those moments, whether it's getting on stage to sing or speak, or whether it's walking into a really hard conversation with somebody that we love or that we don't like all that much, both things can be true, that we have that little seed, that little idea. I know where my voice is. I have felt it in my body. So let's see this might work. Actually, would you mind, could I ask you just very briefly to join this side of the room? Yes. Thank you. That'll just even us out a little bit. So we're going to do a fun little thing, which is called rounding. Does everyone know what that means? Very good. So going back and forth. I'll explain because I got a couple of head shakes. Everyone's familiar with row, row, row your boat? a fantastic song that we don't think about enough as adults. So, row, row, row your boat. I'll just speak the lyrics quickly in case we need a little refresh. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So let's just sing that once together, and I'll give us a note. Little D. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Let's do it one more time like that. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Cool? All right. So rounding is this very silly thing where one side of the room will start and then the other side will come in. So we'll kind of be in this little bit off phrase, but on tempo experience. So we'll start with this side of the room, and we'll just go through row, row, row your boat. And then as soon as they start singing gently down the stream, we'll start on this side. Row, row, row your boat. All right, are we ready to give it a try? And this can break. This can be totally awful. It doesn't matter. We're playing, right? No big deal. We might completely mess up, and it's okay because life is but a dream. Ready? Row, row, row your boat. Row, row, row your boat. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. One more time. Row, row, row your boat. Row, row, row your boat. Life is but a dream. Life is but a dream. Lovely. All right. I'm going to get myself set up for the music piece, check in with Will, make sure that we're good on sound check, and we'll move into the concert portion. So if you need to run to the restroom, get a drink, anything like that, please do that, and we'll keep going in about 5 minutes. Yeah. Just staying with like the really. I've gone through different iterations of stuff, and I found that this set usually is the most accessible. What? Oh yeah, it's a chunky one. I wanted it to last. All right. Yeah. We bought it specifically for this box. All right. So continuing the theme of learning to say the things that we want to say, sometimes that can be quite hard. And for me, I do a lot of it through song and through songwriting when I'm working through something challenging, difficult, confusing. And the latest album that I released, Goldenrod, has many of those themes in it, of change, of finding our way through change and figuring out what we might do in order to keep moving forward. And what we might do to keep moving forward is simply that, to take one small step at a time and to encourage ourselves and others along the way, along our path, and along our journey. My feet are stuck to the ground. Body's stiff from my legs and through my crown. My heart is beating, my ears are ringing. Will is crumbling down. Voices in my head, filling my mind and eyes with dread. Now I'm shaking. Is this breaking? Why am I seeing red with all these small steps they take? Because I'm learning to love myself in life with every small step it takes. Big courage. I'm learning not to apologize. Will it be enough? Or will I give up far too much? Well, I am learning that my heart is yearning for feet that you say hard to grasp, but all these small steps they take big courage. Learning to love myself in life. Every small step it takes, big courage. Learning not to apologize. Am I ready to fly? Take a deep breath and close my eyes, 'cause I am trying, so there's no use shying away now, no. Facing up to the day with all these small steps they take, big courage. Learning to love myself in life with every small step it takes. Big courage. Learning not to apologize. Oh, all these small steps they take. Big courage. Learning to love myself in life with every small step it takes. Big courage. Learning not to apologize. Thank you. Change seems to be inevitable in our lives, and communicating with those around us through it is quite an important part of it. But in order to do a lot of that, it's really important as well to be able to be at least somewhat certain of what it is we are hoping for, creating, building, and at the core of all of that, who we are as a person. And that is a tough question to answer, especially in a world where we wear a lot of hats, have a lot of roles, there's labels to what we do, and who we are. And finding some sort of nugget in that and being able to communicate to ourselves and to those around us kind of the little inner being of what makes me me versus what are all the things that I do, that I say I am, can be challenging. But that's the part of us that remains. When we walk away from a job, a relationship, into a different role, the pieces and parts of us that are there to stay are what we get to take with us. So starting to figure out what those are is an important piece of the journey. Hold my hand, but don't chain my soul. Come and walk beside me, but don't lead me, I won't follow. I don't know where I'm going, so I figure any road could get me there. It might be a wild ride. Are you coming for the adventure? I'm a little rough. It's not just around the edges, a little tough, but you could still cut me if you tried. I'm a little hardened, a little headstrong, a little brown-eyed girl. I wish on stars, and I'm here to stay. When it rains, I look for rainbows. When it's dark, I search for stars. I'm not afraid to hold on to my dreams. Man, sometimes it's hard to hold my stars. I'm a little rough. It's not just around the edges, a little tough, but you could still cut me if you tried. I'm a little hardened, a little headstrong, a little brown-eyed girl. I wish on stars, I'm here to stay. So hold me here, but don't drown me out. 'Cause I still need my own true love, even if it's you I'm singing about. I'm a little rough. It's not just around the edges, a little tough, but you could still cut me if you tried. I'm a little hardened, a little headstrong, a little brown-eyed girl. I wish on stars. Oh, I still wish on stars. I wish on stars. I'm here to stay. Thanks. It's been a fun exercise knitting together a show in a little bit different way than a typical concert runs. Having the opportunity, it was quite fun to get to do my vocal warm up with you all. That was exciting. It meant I didn't have to do it on my own. which was quite fun. Connection and belonging are big things that, as humans, we crave, that we hope for. And sometimes we don't feel are necessarily accessible, depending on what's happening in our world and in our lives. And one of the scariest things and one of the worst feeling things that we experience as humans is rejection. It cuts deep, it's hard to manage, and because of that, we sometimes spend a lot of time worrying about that moment in which we might be rejected, even if it's not happening yet. And the best thing that we can do for those types of anxieties is to name them, to label it, to say this is the thing I'm scared of, and to be able to see as we state that, it's also not happening right now. And for me, that was a big part of the journey through Goldenrod. This is the title track from that cut, or from that album, and a reminder for myself, right, in those moments where we may want to start self-sabotaging, we may want to start planning for the worst, that we can move past it instead, and to exist in the moment of whatever it might be, in this case, a beautiful field of goldenrod along a hiking trail in the fall. Well, I've heard everything changes. I don't think it's true. Some things stay the same, like how I think of you when you're far away, and I'm lying here on my own. And I remember the feel of your hand holding mine as we drove through the mountains to see what we'd find if we got away. Got to take a breath under blue sky. And I see goldenrod sway as leaves tumble and play. Summer fades into fall. I try to hold on to time while I catch it and rise, 'cause it's all we have after all. Was a stream by the path, so we stopped to race leaves, and I could see your reflection smiling at me when my boat capsized, and I said, could we try again? And the sunshine was sweet, even there in the shade. Oh, it all felt so perfect. I got afraid of the moment when you might not love me anymore. And I see goldenrod sway as leaves tumble and play. Summer fades into fall. I try to hold on to time while I catch it and rise, 'cause it's all we have after all. And see down the breeze, they blow wherever they please. Oh, maybe that's not for me. I like feet on the ground.
summer fades into fall. I try to hold on to time, I catch it in rhymes, 'cause it's all we have after all. I see goldenrod sway, I see goldenrod sway, yeah.
Personally, for myself, that when facing great moments of decision and these spaces of uncertainty, there's a feeling in my body that feels the same as standing at the edge of a cliff and seeing a really beautiful space into which we might fly, and also a really horrifying space into which we might tumble. And that's a lot of feeling to hold in one frame, but it's also an incredible moment because it reminds us that we are in fact alive, that we can feel, whether it's fear or excitement or that funny overlapping space that exists between them. We are encouraged when we're young to dream big, to reach for the stars, to shoot for the moon. But as we get older, life becomes much more practical, much more responsibility-oriented. And those things are important, and they can't be discounted. But I hope that for myself and for all of us individually, that there is a chance and a possibility to create a world where those things are necessary and true and important, and one in which it's okay to keep our heads up in the clouds.
Poetry up in the sky, all these well-worn dreams drifting by. Part of me craves an epiphany, and I won't find it standing here, so I won't look down to just find the ground. Then how would I keep my head up? To stop thinking with my mind and with my head up in the clouds, head up in the clouds, head up in the clouds. Don't look down, don't look down, don't look down. shrunken and paralyzed, caught up in the light. Everything is fine, just fine, but I won't look down to just find the ground. And how would I keep my head up in the clouds? Close my eyes, take a look inside, and learn how it feels to stop thinking with my mind. With my head up in the clouds, my head up in the clouds, head up in the clouds. Don't look down, don't look down, don't look down. Don't look down, don't look down, don't look down. I gotta keep my head up in the clouds, in the clouds. Gotta keep my head up in the clouds.
That'll work.
So in all of that, it's important, whether we're in a season of change or a season of settledness, to also think about what is just curiosity driven, what we might be inspired by. And for me, a lot of that inspiration comes from the natural world, from looking around, watching the seasons dance through their kind of cyclical changes, and they don't break. They keep going. At least we haven't broken them yet. We'll see. We're working on it. But in that space, there's really very little to me that is more interesting and magical than a big, bright, full moon in the fall. Full moon, fall night, I only see the ghosts of colors that would have shimmered in the sun. Half empty light, you never see it coming on. Something has begun, and my heart flutters in the breeze. That is your breath, it shakes the trees. And all the maple leaves will turn after the sun. After the sun hits the sugar that burns. Full moon, fall night, I can feel our heartbeats mingle in this whiskey glow, in this waxing light. The feeling's growing clearer. Now you go, let it show. 'Cause my heart flutters in the breeze. It is your breath, it shakes the tree. All the maple leaves will turn after the sun. sugar that burns. Full moon, fall night. Now we're dancing slowly. It's unseasonably warm. Moon shadow light shows a sweet slide. Smile, oh baby, should I be one? As my heart flutters in the breeze, it is your breath, it shakes the tree. All the maple leaves will turn after the sun. After the sun, it's the sugar that burns. It's the sugar that burns.
It's very interesting to revisit these songs solo after playing with a band for a little while. It's kind of fun in its own little way to just settle in. For those of us who are not familiar with much about birds, which really does include me to an extent, we do have the Sibley Book of Birds, which we like to flip through, but mostly I like to look at the pictures. But a passerine is a class of songbird. And there are many birds that we might think of that belong to that class. But if you've ever had the opportunity to see a little songbird, get ready to send its song out into the world. Just like we talked about earlier, there's this big inhalation. There's this gathering in of energy. And then they throw song out into the world with such a full body effort that it's incredible that they don't topple backwards off the branch. But they don't, because they have these very special little backwards claws that allow them to anchor in so that they can sing their song out into the world. Sometimes I wish I had one of those little backwards claws, held me in place in moments of great energy. This next tune, Passerine, is a letter looking backwards, wondering what might have been different, but accepting what can't be changed, learning from the past to move forward.
I see you, passerine, passing by, feathers green and head held high, and I remember your eyes as bright as ember. Do you hear me warbling out a song, just hoping to belong? As I remember, I am the offender, so I won't soar anymore, but beyond the wing, wish I could light up my own heart. Maybe I mold off all these things that is sudden, watching as it floods in over images. As my covert diminishes, so I won't soar anymore. Beyond wish I could light up my own heart. Maybe I can multiply these things. So we perch here, just behind the bars, avoiding newer scars. Well, if the lock is disengaged, why are we rebuilding this cage? So I won't soar anymore. Beyond the wish I could light up my own heart. Maybe I multiply these things. Remember, we gotta be silly. Wee, shake it off. I've learned that horse breath is the best in-between recording takes thing you can do when it's not going well. You just, and then everything's fine again. You start over, no big deal, the next take's perfect. Staying on the little heavier side for just a moment, I'm going to do a couple more for you all tonight. And one of the most interesting changes that we face as humans is the change of not being here anymore. We have no idea what happens on the other side of that. But we all walk towards it with our little small steps. And there's many ways that we can face up to it. But two common ones seem to be either, well, we all die in the end, so what's the point? Or, well, we all die in the end, so we might as well do something with what we have. And it can be very tempting to slide into the what's the point. But life can also be a really interesting journey to live. Has been for me so far. But at the end of all of it, there is this moment, this truth, at least for now, until we, I don't know, figure out how to cryogenically freeze people and then bring them back in 50 years, which I think is in process. There's some stuff like that happening. You have to be ultra wealthy. I'm okay with not being cryogenically frozen and resurrected at some point in the future. But it can be a really interesting moment to reflect and consider, what am I doing with my time? Why am I doing that with my time? What am I building? Does it matter if I build anything? Because won't time crumble that too? And regardless, I think the best
thing I can do for now is to invest in those around me, to create something that I'm proud of, and to start to get really okay with the idea that and that I too will all one day return to dust.
Was out traveling, I had lots to say, so I bought all these postcards, never sent them your way. Now I'm home, sitting alone, contemplating decay. As oak leaves tumble from the trees, they crack and crumble beneath my feet. Summer's gone now, the autumn sings. Oh, we all return to dust. So you'll never read all these words in my heart, but I trust the love will be there in whole, not in part. And I'm here, marking the years with my hands dirt. The color wheel rolls through every season. I don't demand to find a good reason, so I won't care if you take it as treason, 'cause I know we all return to die. Oh, we all return to die. So I plant many seeds and I watch as they grow. I love and I care for the ones that I know. And these tears and holes in my soul, well, they're worth what I sown. As oak leaves tumble from the trees, they crack and crumble beneath my feet. Summer's gone now, the autumn sings. We all return to dust. We all return to dust. Oh, we all return to dust. Thank you. I know everybody in the room knows who I am, but for anybody who's on the live stream or may watch later, it has been a joy to share this program with you. My name is Tenny Rain. You can find my music at tennyrain.com. Tenny Rain on Spotify and all of the streaming platforms. Do have physical copies of my album Goldenrod available on my Bandcamp, which is bandcamp.com/TennyRain. It's TENIRANE. It has been so lovely to be here at the Fayetteville Public Library, to be back in Fayetteville for a visit for a little while. I appreciate them having me out, giving me a chance to pilot a new way of talking about the album and doing this program. I'm going to do one more tune for you all tonight. I hope that you've enjoyed the time that you've spent listening to these songs, these stories, maybe doing a few little silly, playful voice exercises.
Speak of silly sound.
Well, speaking of being silly, I just poured water down myself, my whole self, which is fine. Everything's fine, we're fine. I'm going to close with a tune called Cold Wind, also off the album Goldenrod. All of these tonight have been. all of the changes that we walk through leave some sort of mark, some sort of moment, impression, a lesson that we can learn or that we can ignore. And a lot of times we like to ignore the hard ones, to push away the pasts, the moment, the person that we were in it, instead of giving ourselves that golden gift of forgiveness, of acceptance, and just a big hug back into the truth of the one person that we are, even though we've occupied lots of different spaces. It can be quite hard to do, but if we don't do it, it can create a feeling of great separation, kind of a chasm between ourselves and those that we love and want to love and that love us in return. So we're all on a journey, whether we realize it or not, to kind of accept and hug and hold that whole truth of where we've been, so that the cold wind that feels that might be separating us can instead be a reason to lean into each other's care.
Pushing her away, screaming, no, they're yours, not ours. And there's this cold wind blowing through, separating me from you, while the ghost of my past, she plays the memories again. Imagination's stuck, so I cannot change the end. And there's this cold wind blowing through, separating me from you. Ghost of my past, she claims she's here to stay. She says if we don't learn to get along, then I'll never be okay. And that this cold wind blowing through will keep on separating me from you. So the ghost of my past, I try to be her friend. She's just trying to keep me away from pain. I'm trying to keep me on the mend. And now this cold wind blowing through just makes me want to curl up into the warmth of you. Fayetteville Library for having me. My name is Tenny Rain. It has been a joy to be back in Fayetteville, and look forward to the next time.